Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight was. This is kind of fun in here with this echo. So anyway, Starlight is here. I know that would be too much for most of you, is hear Starlight in this echoing room here, but I could have fun making it my own music in here. Anyway, I love you all so much, and please be kind to yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's so important. And there's levels to this shit, you know, as far as being kind to yourself and loving yourself unconditionally, not being hard on yourself. It's okay, you know, that you're not where you want to be in life. And it's okay that not everybody agrees with what you're doing. It's okay. You gotta love yourself and accept yourself, even if anybody or nobody even accepts who you are or what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Do what makes you feel happy, as long as you're doing something that's safe. I gotta add that in there, because, you know, sometimes naughty things feel fun at the moment, but, you know, the consequences later on is not so much fun, is it? No. So anyway, thank you to all of you who have been here, loving and supporting Starlight. Thank you for those of you who watch my videos. Give me a thumbs up, or leave a comment down below, or even share my videos. And don't forget the notification bell. That way you do not miss any videos. And you know what? You can't do this all on your own, because guess what? We all need each other one way or another. So anyway, with that being said, is if anybody would like to send any love donations my way on my YouTube, my Cash App, you can, and I will have that information here. There it is. And besides that is, before I start this video, now today is, you know, because there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. And I've thought of this when I was younger. Starlight is, how young? How young is Starlight? I'm really young. You know, I'm not my age. Actually, I don't even act my age, you know. So anyway, when I was even younger than what I am now, is I wanted more babies. I have two, a boy and a girl. Perfect. But I wanted more. You know, I tell people out in public, I want 10 more babies, you know. I would love to be like a stay-at-home mom and just, you know, train up my kids in the way that I want them to go. And when they get old, they shall not depart. You know, that's what the Bible says, something like that. You know, and that is so important right there. Is so this video is about, should we have a baby like in 2026? You know, should we have a baby during these crazy times in the world? Great question. Thank you for asking me this. That's a very important question. Should people right now have babies? What does Starlight think? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think on that topic. It's not so much about the craziness in the world, because, you know, we do need children, you know, later on in the future. I used to ask myself this too, is like, do I even want to have a baby at this time? You know, there's a lot of crazy stuff, especially after you find out this is an illusion, we're in the Matrix. You know, do I want to have a baby right now? Starlight, would you have a, yeah, if I wasn't here serving, being on this mission with God, and if I had a great man that was going to be an awesome dad, I would love to have like lots of babies, even at these crazy times. So I don't really think it's really what's going on out in the world as much as how the mom and dad are going to be, you know? And I don't want to just pick on the daddies out there, you know, well, maybe want to be dads, or maybe you are, you know, already a dad now, you know, maybe you have other kids and you're wondering, do we want another one? Well, and then there's so many things to say on these things. See, there's so many different ways of looking at this and that question. So if you are a person that don't have any kids, we're going to start there. If you don't have any kids at all, should you have any kids now in this crazy ass world of what we're living in? And like I said, I really don't think it has to do with the way the world is. I really believe it has more to do with who you are as a person. There's a lot out there in the world to bring up kids these days. What kind of person are you? Now, if you never had kids, then you're not a mom yet. And if you never had kids, you're not a dad yet. You know, if you never had any kids, this might be, well, that you know of, right? Guys. Because the women, they know when they have, they know when they have a kid, right? But guys, they don't always know, like, oops, how many kids they have, because shit happens out there, don't they? Because I've known a lot of people making jokes about that. Yeah, I got a kid in every state. That's not even funny, but they're not even there supporting any of them, But they were just joking, but they just, that's what they said. So what matters to me is about who you are and how are you in this crazy ass world. If this crazy ass world is stressing you out and you are not focused on working on you as being that change that you want to see in the world or becoming your greatest version, if technology has pulled you in and sucked you in, if materials, like being a material girl or a material guy has sucked you in to the things of this world, if you are on the wide path in life, following the ways of the world, I would think twice about having a child in these days. Especially if how do you want to bring them up? How do you, how do you visualize bringing them up? What kind of children do you want to bring up? That's really important. And like I mentioned before, I had a video before, I'm going to have to look up the title of that because, I don't know, it might have been, should I have a baby or something like that. I made a video on something like this topic as far as babies, having a baby goes. And Starlight dressed up like a pregnant lady and tried to act like I was pregnant, but I was not pregnant. I would have, believe me, that would be like, woo, that would be a gift from God. Bam! Starlight, you want to have a baby? Yes, I would love to have babies, And even though this world is crazy ass, because I would be an excellent mother. That's what it's about. It's not about just, because a lot of women can have babies, but not every woman was meant to be a mom. And not every daddy. Yeah, there's a lot of daddies out there, men that can make babies, but it doesn't mean that they were meant to be a father. Because there's all kinds of people out there. So the most important thing is, who are you and how are you handling today's stressors out there? Are you in fear about, not having enough? Are you sucked into the news and believing everything that they tell you? What do you have a plan? Do you have a vision as far as what are your plans as far as where is the child going to be, after you deliver the child? What, ladies, mommies, because now you're a mommy, right? What is your plans as far as who's going to watch your kids? It's really important to think these things out ahead of time. What is your vision? Do you want to follow everybody else and just send your kids to the public school? Or do you really want to be a full-time mommy, a stay-at-home mom that brings up her children in such a nurturing way to make sure their kids are protected from the things out there in the public school? These are things that you really need to think about, is what kind of mom, what kind of person are you right now? And same with the man. You know, you want to have a child, women or ladies, but is the man, who is he? Do you really know who he is? How long have you been together? Has he taken the mask off yet? Or is he still wearing it? And that goes for you too. Are you wearing a mask? You know, pretending, because sometimes this is what happens in a lot of relationships. A lot of times, one will want a child and the other one really doesn't. But what they end up doing is they end up doing things that they didn't really want to do in the first place. Example, there's women out there that really, really want to be a mom. And they're with a guy. You got to have a man, right? Well, these days you can go and, you know, not even need a man, you know, to have a baby. But if, you know, of course, if you're going to bring your child up at the house and be a stay-at-home mom, like I was in bits and pieces with my kids, is that what kind of man, whether he's a daddy or not, what kind of person is he? Is he wearing a mask still? Do you think he's really being honest with you? Where does he spend all his free time? What kind of habits does he have? Does he have any secrets? What are his friends like? Does he drink alcohol and do drugs? And if he does, is he an alcoholic? You know, is he, you know, overdoing it with things? So you got to ask, is he a safe person? How does he treat you? Ladies, how does he treat you? Does he respect you? Does he provide for you? Is he there? Is he a good communicator? How is he under stress? Does he have anger issues? Can you count on him? We know, yes, the world is screwed up out there, but it's really, 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 really so important to make sure mommy and daddy are not caught up in the way of the world. Is daddy, you know, always on the phone all the time? Is daddy, you know, watching TV all the time? Of course, you know, people can have that kind of lifestyle and they can change. They can change. I'll tell you what, when you have kids, they're going to force you to change. Or shit will happen, you know, because you definitely want to make sure the guy, you know, the ladies, the guy that you're thinking about having a baby with, whether this world is upside down, is how is his anger? Because I'll tell you what, that's a big, but I'll tell you what, you really got to know, does he have anger issues? Because I'll tell you what, kids are going to test the man out and the mommy out. And that goes for you moms. I mean, ladies, if you're not a mommy yet, do you got anger issues? Because I'll tell you what, the children are going to test your ass at all different angles. Expect the unexpected when you have kids. You know, how's your stress level? You know, are you having a hard time dealing with life itself? You know, do you, and then these are personal questions, these are deep. So is anybody thinking about ending their lives? You know, how is your health? All these things you gotta ask, how's the daddy's health? Have you checked with the doctor and ask, you know, would we be a good fit to, you know, like to make a baby, to create a baby, you know, depending on his bloodline and your bloodline, blood types? Would your blood types come together good? How's his health? How's your health? You know, these are things that are so important to find out as far as, I didn't do that because I didn't know anything about it. You know, what kind of job does the guy have, you know? Can he support you? Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? You do. Well, is he the man that can, you know, show up to work on time and work his ass off. Make sure everything's paid for and caught up, you know? Because those are really important. You want a responsible man. Just like the woman, you want to be responsible. It's a serious thing when it comes to having a baby. Yeah, the world's upside down. But you know what? If you have the right two people to come together, and how long have you known each other? Because if it's only been a year, you might want to think about that and wait a little bit longer, get to know them better, you know? Or guys, if you want to have a baby with her, you know, now we're going to do the switch. What kind of woman is she? You know, where does she spend all of her extra time? Is she out still partying? And that goes with the guys. Are they out still partying with their friends? What do they do in their free time? Do they got gambling habits? You know, is she into drug and alcohol? You know, like, is she in control? You know, do you wake up early in the morning? Can you wake up early in the morning? Or do you sleep in until noon? I know these questions might sound bizarre, but it's so important, because I'll tell you what, when you have kids, they're gonna wake your ass up early. You're gonna be up in the middle of the night. Outside, when you go outside in the world, people make it look easy. I know people that ended up having a baby they wish they never did. But you know what? They're already in it now. There ain't no going back now, right? Already happened. They didn't want no babies in the first place. So like I said in the other video, if you want to have a baby, do it because you want to have a baby. Be honest with yourself and the person, you know, women, if the guy wants to have a baby but you don't, you know, a lot of people, what they do, they end up having babies and they didn't want to have a baby because they didn't want to lose the person that they were with. They're like, I love this person. I don't want to lose them. Maybe they'll never love me. You know, maybe they don't want me. Maybe they'll want to go, you know, find somebody else to have a baby with, but I don't really want to have a baby. I like all my free time. I like going out with the girls. I like going out with the guys. I want to go out and go, you know, it's great to go hiking and go out and do stuff, but everything changes, you know, when you have a baby. You know, and it's great to bring the kids out in nature, right? That's a great place to bring your kids. So there's so many different angles and so many things that you can look at, you know, and so, guys, you gotta, you know, what kind of lady is she? Is she faithful? Is she an honest mom, you know, lady? Could you see her being a good mom? How long have you known her? How long have you been going out with her? How's her health? You know, you gotta ask these questions. How is her health? How is her emotional well-being? How about mental, you know, well-being? How is she mentally? You know, is she stable? You know, or is she in drama and gossiping and stressing all the time? Is she tired all the time? Does she sleep in late? How's the house? Is the house clean? Because you know what? You might think that doesn't matter. It does matter. A clean house does matter. Wouldn't it be great to bring up a baby in a clean environment? You really want to be with somebody that, you know, is on their shit. They are on their stuff. The dishes are being done. The house chores are being done. Guys, you know, not that it's only for guys, because all these things at the house, women and men, now mowing the yard, you know, that's more of a man job, but there's women out there that mow the yard. You know, I don't know, is it a riding mower or propel mower, you know? So, you know, is everything out, you know, can you take care of the house? Is everything taken care of at the house? How does everything look at the house, you know? Is the house clean? Rooms all picked up? Bathrooms clean? You know, kitchen, you know, is there enough food? These are things that you got, you know? And Where does she spend her time? How, how's her relationship with other people? Does she spend a lot of time with other people? Does she like going to the mall? Go shopping all the time, spending money all the time? Is she in the world, or is she living for God? What kind of woman is she? Does she have a good relationship with herself? Does she love herself? Does she know even who she is? How does she treat other people? And girls, it's the same with guys. How are they with people out in public? These are all a whole bunch of things to think about as far as getting with somebody. What is your vision as far as how do you see your relationship like in 10 years? Can you see yourself with that person in 10 years? Or do you got your eye on somebody else right now and you're like thinking this is not really working out? People do all kinds of crazy shit out there for the wrong reasons. Holding on to, there's times people want to hold on to somebody for the wrong reasons. Not all the time, but women might want to hold on to a man because of the money. Maybe he makes good money. But these days it doesn't matter. These days it could be a guy that likes her. She might be the one making a lot of money. So you gotta really ask yourself, why are you together? Honestly, you gotta ask this deep down to the core of who you are. Is why am I with him? Am I using him for something? Does he have something that I'm just kind of, that's something that I need in my life? Because you want to make sure you're with the person for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. A lot of people get hooked up with somebody for the wrong reasons. And so you got to make sure that you're the person that you're with, no matter who it is. Women, if it's you, are you being authentic with the man that you are with? Or are you wearing a mask? Is he being authentic with you? I mean, like if you've only been together, I used to believe this before, but because I'm growing as I'm going, is really you need to get to know that person more than a year. And this is a very rare thing, is for people not to have sex until, they decide to get married, Starlight actually hasn't been with a man since 2018. And I mean, when I say that, I have not had sex in all this time because I've been working on myself. But, and finding out who I am. That way I know better of what kind of man is really the right man for me. It's good to focus on the positives. I need a man that is working on himself, always working on himself. I need a man that's going to be responsible. So it's always focused on the positives. Focus on what you desire in a man. Is he all those things? Like have a checklist. Is he all those things? Then, is she all those things, that you desire in a woman, or even as a mother? Can she, is she everything that she needs to be a great mom? And I'm not saying that people can't change, people can. It's so important to take this serious. There's a lot of people that have babies for all the wrong reasons. A lot of people, they go out and have babies just to get welfare government money, to get, hey, now we got a baby. They're not gonna, shit. They gotta help us out. We'll get like free rent, Of course, somebody's gotta work, So you want to make sure you're having a baby for the right reason. Why do you want a baby? What do you plan on? What's your plans what draws you to think that you would be a good mom or a good dad? Do you got what it takes? Are you a very impatient person? And I'm talking to both of you, men and women. Are you impatient? Because those kids are going to test your patience to the core. Are you a protector, men? Do you protect the girl that you're with? Because the daddy's got to be a protector of the baby, make sure nothing happens to that baby. It's so serious, you know. Do you guys make good choices in life? You know, are you thinking about your safety and reality in life? These are so important. These are questions, you know. Everything matters because, you know, what are you hoping to teach your kids? You know, because I'll tell you what, everybody out there, you know, makes it look easy. You don't know what it's like if you never had any children, what the real deal is like once you have one. You know, especially in the beginning, you know, for so many years up until, you know, like after they get out of diapers. But it's a continuous, it's stages, you know, even when they're, you know, even when they're not wearing diapers, there's still a lot of work. You might have got out of the diaper phase, but wow, now they're running around, you know, there's nothing stopping them, you know, they're moving a lot, they're talking a lot, you know. And I say this because kids will rat your ass out. And that's what you gotta think. Do you want your kids ratting you? What kind of secrets you have? Because you know what? Kids are innocent. They don't know that you got secrets. They'll tell people things that you don't, oh my, I can't believe, you know, especially in the school system. The school system asks your kids questions without you even being aware of it. I'm telling you, that's a fact. Kids don't even know. You know, it would be interesting if you had like a little recorder somehow or another in the class, you know, and find out really everything that's going on in the classroom. What are the teachers talking about in the classrooms? I say this because I was studied when I was in school. We had little assignments in the classroom, notebooks that never went home. Those stayed in school for a reason, you know. And they will report your ass if there's abuse. If the signs of abuse, they are trained for this stuff to notice the signs of abuse, you know. So those are things that you really got to think about. And if you already have kids, okay, now this is for guys and girls who already have kids. I don't know how many you have. You might just have one. How did that go? You're yanking your hair. Well, then you already know the answer, okay? No. You know, if you're yanking your hair out of your head already and wish you never had the first one, absolutely not. Don't have another one. One was enough. Just focus on that one. Next, okay. Now you do have kids. How are you with the technology? Are you in control of the kids, or are the kids in control of you? Are you letting the kids wear the jeans in the house, the pants in the house? This goes for all of you, you know, whether you had kids or not. If you're gonna let the kids run over you, I'm gonna say, please do not have any kids. You can do whatever you wanna do, but it's so vitally important is that you're the one in control. And they know it. Because these kids are very super smart. They're going to study you from the time that they get out all the rest of their lives. They're going to keep an eye on you. They're going to watch you, observe every single thing. You know, it is funny, I just seen this the other day, is like when kids are in a high chair, you know, it happens by accident at first, you know, something knocks on the floor. The mom picks it up, puts it back on the tray, you know? And as time goes by, the child's like, this is pretty cool. If I drop something on the floor, you know, they're gonna pick it up and put it back on the tray. So a lot of them go through that stage of like, you know, knock some water, watch them clean it all up, you know, and just sit there. You know, they're super, super smart. See, they learn really quick. They're like, this is pretty cool. If I throw my stuff all over. See, I tell you what, when I had my daughter, she was my first one, when that little game started playing, you know, I played it for a while, and I realized I was quick. I realized what you're doing to me is that, you know, she's controlling me. And they will control you if you let them. I'm like, no, you're going down there and you're picking that up, you know? You wanna change the roles there, and just like when they make a mess all over with the toys, are you the one gonna be picking them up or the child? You know, in the beginning, you know, you wanna teach them that you made the mess, you gotta clean. Here, we're gonna, you know, teach them how to put the toys back into the toy box. You don't wanna be the one starting off, you wanna start them off right. Okay, you had a big fun time making a big ass mess in my living room. It does take time. You want to do like a little bit by little, you know, today, you know, get them to pick up 10 toys, you know, put it in the toy box. And each time, you know, here you go, I'll pick up the rest. Next time, you know, a little bit more. After a while, you know what, get them trained that they're picking all the toys up by themselves. They're going to learn, you know what, if I don't like picking them and putting them back in the toy box, then maybe I won't make such a big mess. Because you got to teach them from the start as far as responsibility goes, and as far as who's going to be wearing the pants in the house. You want to be super, super smart on top of them, and anything. They make a mess, teach them how to wipe it up. Get a washcloth and take their hand. It's a hands-on training. And like, oh, there you go, you clean up the mess. You know, it's going to take a lot of work. That's why you want to be a stay-at-home mom. It takes time to learn this. It's not dropping them off at the public school. You know, you can teach your kids so much at the house. You know, but not everybody wants to. And that's my question. Why would you want to be a mom or a dad if you're just going to drop them off at the public school? There's a lot of women that don't want to stay at home with their children. They want to go out and make the dollar bill. And that's why it's so important for men. If you're going to want a wife that stays home, make sure you give her some pocket money, you know, because she is staying at home raising up your kids, raising up your guys' kids. You know, she should have some pocket money so she can go out and treat herself. She can go out and buy some clothes, you know, for the hard work that she's doing. You know, she needs to be rewarded, because I tell you, I went through that and I wasn't really getting rewarded. You know, she needs to, you know, be appreciative of what she's doing and how she's protecting the child by staying home. You know, it's great that, you know, there are women out there that do want to stay home with their kids. But I'll tell you what, the way these days are, a lot of women, they want to go out and they want to make the dollar bill. And women, if you're that lady that just wants to don't even bother having kids. I'm serious. Because you're going to be miserable. Because I know people right now, they have a hard time being home. They just want to go out and work. It's more work for them to be home than it is to go out and work. You know, and you got to watch out for that, you know, because it is so important to being a good mom and to being a good dad. And that means by being there and making sure the child is safe, and that you're helping them to grow, and you're teaching the child is that they are not the boss. They need to love. They need to have love in that connection. They need somebody that can communicate well and who's patient with them. You know, you got to be really super patient and break everything down. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to do all that stuff, to bring up a kid in a good, nurturing way, teaching them about how to treat people out in public, treating them, you know, introduce, you know, and I never got taught this stuff when I was growing up, is introducing, you know, people to other. I didn't know how to introduce myself to people. I still goof up on that at my age. I'll ask people what their name is, and I forget to tell them what my name is. You know, because I never was taught any of this stuff. But these are things that you want to teach your kids, is to teach them that it is a dangerous world, but we still can be friendly and kind to people, but, you know, teach them about safety, you know, and boundaries and all that stuff. There's a lot of work. It's not, you know, it's not as easy as people make it out there to look like, you know. So anyway, I think I'm pretty clear on that. So if you already have, oh, that's right. If you already have kids, if, like I was saying, if you're already yanking your hair out of your head right now with the one, absolutely not. If you got more than, you know, if you got mixed families, is how do they all get along? Because adding another child into the mix of all the ones that you already have, I'll tell you what, it brings out a lot of jealousy, and you really want to be there for the child, because there's going to be bigger brothers and sisters that might not be really quite related. They might have, like a stepbrother or stepsister, but I'll tell you what, a lot of jealousy goes on, and that's why you don't want to even have, it should be really mom and dad babysitting the kids, because you really got to be careful of even having brothers and sisters babysit kids, because a lot can happen when you're not around. You might be even shocked what goes on when mommy and daddy are not around at the house, as far as trusting, big brother or big sister to babysit the kids. So you got to be really careful about that, because a lot of crazy stuff can happen in your house. And you got to make sure those kids are responsible, and because kids are wearing masks. They can pretend in front of you that they're treating their little sisters good, but when do you catch them beating them up, behind your back? Because those are the kids you definitely do not, because there's kids that will beat up their little sisters or brothers, when nobody's around, and that's what you got to watch out for. And that's why you don't want to be desperate having somebody to babysit your kids. Those are other pointers as far as, do you want to have a kid in this crazy world? It's not so much about the world out there, how that's going on. It's who you are as far as a lady, as far as you are as a guy, whoever is watching these videos, so it's about who you are. It's not so much about the world outside. It's about you. Are you going to be a good mom? Are you going to be a good dad? I didn't say perfect. I've named a lot of stuff. I could sit here for hours talking about this topic, because it means so much to me, because there's a lot of kids that go through abuse, and in one form or another. And here's another pointer I didn't bring up is, are you the type that communicates or yells and screams? Because there's a lot of parents that do. They yell and scream and they beat their kids. So if you have no patience, I wouldn't even have a child. If you're that person that's honking on the horn in traffic, that the person in front of you is not, there's times that we gotta honk at somebody, honk, hey, it's a green light, but not this honk, honk, honk. No, please, if you're that type, don't even bother having babies, because those kids are gonna get on your nerves. And if you can't handle it out in traffic, no matter what day it is, you're not going to be a good candidate for being a dad or a mom. Because this doesn't just happen with men; it happens with women too. So patience is a virtue. And anyway, I love you so much. I know I probably missed some things, because there's so many things to talk about on this topic, and it's so important. It's the kids' safety and well-being that's important. It's not about the dollar bill. It's not about, being alone with yourself, because that's the time to spend time with that child, and knowing when you need a break. Parents, a lot of times they don't know when they need a break. A lot of times they don't know when they need time out. The parents need time out. They need to, there's times, parents, you need time out. It's not the kids that need time out, So you gotta listen to those signs and pay attention when you've had enough, when they get on your nerves, because they're gonna, one way or another, they're gonna get on your nerves, and the more you have, the merrier it is, right? So anyway, I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. Starlight loves you. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.